Thank you all for being here, and I'm welcoming you to Job Fair Insiders Tips. This is an annual panel that we do from the Career Development Center, inviting employers, I should say, and a student or two every year to come share with you their inside perspective about how you can prepare for and be a great success at the private college's job and internship fair, and for that matter, at any fair, because I'm sure that the insights they're going to share with you are really broadly transferable to any kind of career fair you'll attend throughout your lifetime. So good for you. I'm glad you're here in the room. Thanks for taking time out of your day. Hope students, you found that the cookies and punch were there and were gone probably, and I hope you got the handouts. All of you students got an index card when you came in the door, and you have a pen. I asked you to hopefully think about some questions, and you can just start writing down a question on your card now at any time. I'm going to do introductions. I'll probably ask a couple of general questions here, a few questions for the panel to get us going, and then after a couple of questions, I'll have our career staff walk up and down the ends of the aisles, and you can pass your cards to the outsides of the aisles, and they'll collect your questions. They'll bring them up to me, and I will probably categorize them. We'll categorize them, and we'll start throwing out questions to the panel. So I first, of course, have to thank the Career Development Center staff for all the time and effort they have put into planning this, and especially thank you, Amber, for all the logistics. Thank you. And of course, the next people that I have to thank after I tell you who I am. I'm Jennifer Rogers. I'm the Employer Relations Specialist in the Career Development Center. And I'm very happy to welcome this panel. I'll give you just their names and their titles, and I'm going to have them introduce a little bit more about themselves. So immediately to my right here from grad staff is Dana Sokol. Next to her is Troy Sabian from Fraser. Next to Troy is our student, Ellie Rowland. You're a senior, right, Ellie? Yes. Great. And then from Xcel Energy, next to her is Christine Lang. And at the end, last but not least, is Dakota County's representative, Sarah Knoll. And so I want to thank you all for your time for being here today. Why don't we just let you start? I'll start probably from this end and come this way. Dana, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your role there at Dakota County and if you have experience recruiting at career fairs. And we'll start out with that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again, my name is Sarah Knoll. I work for Dakota County, which is a government employer. We're public sector. The work that we do at the county is really unique. It's very broad. Not many people understand necessarily what county government is. So some of the things that we help do at Dakota County is we run libraries and parks and a jail, licensed services. We help citizens with their human services needs in our corrections and social services, economic assistance and veteran services. We help build roads and sidewalks and parks and trails for people to utilize. Environmental services will help clean up the roads, but also our parks and our waterways and stuff like that too. We work with the county attorney's office and the sheriff's office with offenders and also victims as a part of the state court system. We also assess property and collect taxes, which people aren't always very happy about. But in turn, we give out programs and services to help people, those in need, and to run the libraries and whatnot. Additionally, we have our internal services, which are HR, IT, financial services, and administration, who help kind of keep the internal processes going so that our staff and transportation and survey and environmental resources can keep all their programs and services going for the citizens of Dakota County. We have 1,800 employees at Dakota County, and our slogan is to provide a premier place for people to live and work. I personally have a communications degree from UW River Falls. I graduated 21 years ago, and I have been at Dakota County for those 21 years. I started at the front desk, and I have moved my way around in the department, and I'm now an HR generalist who helps to deal with performance management, recruiting, discipline, and of course career fairs like today.
Great, thank you.
I am Christine Lang, so I work at Xcel Energy in their talent acquisition group. My role is a sourcer, not the magician type. And so I will typically interact with more passive candidates for hard to fill roles. And then the campus program is kind of split up amongst our whole team. So we'll go to campus events like this, career fairs, host different info sessions, things like that. A little bit about Excel. So we have about 12,000 people. A lot of people at career fairs might not know that we also have a lot of other functions. So people might think, oh, I'm not a lineman or I'm not a tradesman, so I don't know if I will fit into the company. So we kind of want to put the message out there that we have, marketing, supply chain, finance, accounting, HR, all of the above. So any of those positions, we would be happy to talk to you next week about at the job fair. I have attended the job fair a couple years ago when I worked at a different company doing campus recruiting. So I'm sure we'll get plenty of questions. It's a really fun event and a good opportunity for you guys to seek out entry-level roles that are strictly geared towards campus graduates. So.
Hello, my name's Ellie Rowland. I'm a senior here at St. Thomas. I'm a marketing major. I run on the track team, and I work in campus life with Campus Spirit. And I also do the social media for Black Coffee and Waffle Bar. I attended the job fair last year, and I got my internship at Canterbury Park through the job fair, so I can tell you that it works.
Yay. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Troy Sabian, and I am a senior human resources representative at Fraser. Fraser is a nonprofit in the Twin Cities area that provides services in 3 primary areas. Those are housing, healthcare, and education. Our healthcare is probably the most well-known area. It's home to the Fraser Autism Center of Excellence. We're the largest provider of autism services in the state of Minnesota. Our residential program includes 27 group homes and 5 apartment buildings for our clients to live in. And our educational services have Fraser School, which is an inclusive daycare and preschool environment for children with typical needs as well as children with special needs to learn together and to also receive the services that they'd benefit from. We also provide career planning and employment opportunities for young adults going through that transition period where they're navigating the employment environment and trying to determine what type of role they'd enjoy doing and would be successful in doing. For our employees, we have exceptional training opportunities. We're leading the industry with our clinical paths that are available to undergraduate students and people that are interested in long-term careers. In my role in particular, I am on the human resources talent acquisition team, so I predominantly am spending time going out to events, interviewing candidates, and getting them a place in our organization.
Great, thanks.
Hello, I'm Dana Sokol, and I work for Grad Staff. I'm the VP of the Midwest region. I've been with Grad Staff since 2005. Started in another staffing agency as a receptionist position, and it got my foot in the door at Grad Staff. But what we do, we're very niche. We help recent grads either find their first job or their second job out of college. So either that 0 to 2 years of professional experience. We help a lot of small, medium-sized companies as well as large companies fill their entry-level positions in a wide variety of areas. We work with a financial industry, healthcare, marketing, logistics, nonprofits, manufacturing corporations, the list goes on and on. And what I love about this event is that you are taking the time to prepare, because that's key to your success on finding the right fit. That's one thing that we offer at Grad Staff is if you come in to interview, we are career coaches, so we give you advice as you go through the process that you can apply to your job search on your own.
Great, thank you. I think it'd be kind of helpful to us up here if we kind of get to know who you are out in the audience here. So could you raise your hand if you are a sophomore in credits, I suppose, sophomores? A few? Okay. How many of you are juniors? Whoa, look at all the juniors. Any of you graduating this coming May or next December as a senior? All right, we're split. Great, welcome. And how many of you are majoring in something in the College of Business? Raise your hand. That's a lot. How many in the College of Liberal Arts? How many of you engineering? Okay, good number of engineers. Sciences? Yay, sciences. And social work? Any social work? And anybody I haven't mentioned? That's great. So that kind of gives you a sense of who's in the room here. So like I said, I think I'm just going to start with a general question for employers. Why do you go to career fairs? In other words, what do you get out of talking and meeting with intern and full-time job candidates at a career fair? What do you hope to gain from that? Why don't we start here on the end?
I can
Whoever
start.
wants to answer.
So for us, we see a lot of value in going to the job fair because it gives us an opportunity to brand our company, get the word out about who we are and what we have to offer. It's just a great networking opportunity, and I'm sure you've heard the motto, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and so it's a perfect opportunity to have one-on-one conversation because resume only says so much, and you have to understand if you put yourself in our shoes, we get hundreds of resumes daily, and the average recruiter looks at a resume for 30 seconds. And so when we get to see you in person and see how you come and you prepare and you communicate, that really sets yourselves apart versus a resume just coming through a job board site.
Thanks.
Our strategy is pretty similar. We are going to job fairs because it gives us an opportunity to really promote our organization and share a little bit more information that you're going to get by just looking at our website or glancing at something that's posted online briefly. It gives us a chance to network with students to be able to really identify those individuals that are, very strong candidates and that we want to reach out to and try and find the right position for. Sometimes with our industry, it's not the major that you have, but rather the intangible skills that you bring, and that's a really great opportunity for us to be able to see what those have to offer.
I probably won't have a whole lot else to add, but so the networking piece is big because as it was mentioned, we get lots of applications every day. An online database can be quite impersonal, which I'm sure you've experienced also. So it's nice to get in front of people and have a conversation to see if it does seem like the right fit. And really, our campus programs are meant to build a pipeline for our full-time roles. So ideally, we'll bring on an intern and at the end of it, offer them a full-time offer or, offer for employment. So ideally, we are out there to seek out strong candidates to fill entry-level roles, internship roles, and ideally, they'd stick around for, long-term or at least a couple of years. So yeah, the networking piece, getting in front of people, and the branding piece is really big too. Like I talked about earlier, not everybody knows what all these 250 companies do, and likely you won't have researched all of them. So it's a chance for a lot of companies to get out there and say, hey, this is what we do. Maybe you haven't heard of us, and here's how you could potentially fit in.
And I would agree with what the rest of the panel had said is it's really about branding, telling people more about you. It's also sometimes about educating students about what else might be missing on your resume that might be helpful when you do actually apply for a position, or direct them in the area of where they might be missing some experience that they can gain so that they will be better qualified when they do graduate in 6 months, 9 months. So it's a little bit of education too as well.
That sounds like great. So networking, branding, it's better to meet you in person. I always say to a student, you might not end your day on February 22nd or whatever career fair with an offer in hand, but what you've done is you've had the opportunity to meet with a live human being and talk to them and gather information about their organization, about their career opportunities, their internship opportunities, and that educates you to help you decide where you want to go forward in the future and who you want to follow up with and stay in touch with. So I'm sure the career staff can start collecting cards. Hopefully you've been writing down some questions already, and they'll be at the ends of the aisles, and you can pass your cards in. While they're doing that, my next question for the panel is, and especially you, Ellie, we've said that there can be sometimes between 250 and 300 organizations at the private college's job and internship fair. So how the heck does somebody even begin to prepare for an event like this? And Ellie, I want to start with you and see what kind of advice you might have from a student's perspective.
Yeah, well, when you first walk in, it's huge. There's so many employers, and it's a very big venue. And it can be a little confusing if you haven't done your research, if you didn't look up what companies you want to speak to, because then you're just lost. And oftentimes you end up just wandering up to a booth and you ask questions that you could have found out on their website, which shows that you weren't really prepared. So what I have done in the past is I look at who's going to be there, who do I want to talk to, and if they're even offering a position in my field. And then I ask them valuable questions that I couldn't have gotten off their website, ones that show, that I'm there for the right reasons and that I really want to work at their company. But yeah, doing your research is the best to prepare yourself for the large venue.
Great. Pre-research, yeah. Anything, and not every person is going to answer every single question. So does anybody has any prep tips other than research companies in advance?
Well, I know that with that many employers there, one of the strategies that you could use is if you have fellow classmates that maybe are in the same field or trying to go into the same direction, maybe just break down the list and do some research on some of the companies and then get together and share about those companies and kind of cross-share that research. So that when you get to the event, you may all be visiting those booths, but you haven't had to research 50 companies or 40 companies. You've kind of cross-shared some of that research, so that would kind of be a time-saving strategy. I guess one of the things, too, is build up your confidence and be at the fairs really essentially alone. Try not to move around in packs of students together. We oftentimes see people come together with groups of 4 or 5 people. This is an opportunity for you to show your confidence and show who you are and demonstrate yourself as a candidate. But if you're in like a group situation where the person is talking to 4 or 5 people, sometimes the employer might not necessarily see you as the ideal candidate. They'll see maybe who's speaking the most in the group. So know who you want to go talk to and just go up there with confidence and talk to them and ask them questions. So, but do research together.
That's a great tip. Thanks. Anybody else?
I'll just add to, know your pitch, I guess. So know what you want to say to employers. As an employer attending the event, it's really nice to have someone walk up and say, hey, this is my name, this is my major. I've done X, Y, and Z project, which built my interest in this area, and do you guys have anything in sales and marketing and something like that, versus coming up to a table and saying, oh, Xcel Energy, what do you guys do and what kind of jobs do you have? So that it's a much better message for you to really upfront say who you are, what you're looking for, and that way it doesn't waste a lot of time. Like it was mentioned before, maybe they don't even have the opportunities that you're looking for. So come in strong, knowing who you are and what you're looking for, and if it's a match, great, stick around. If not, don't be afraid to move on.
And I'd like to add, too, I think just to, and they've said this as well, but I always say the little things go a long way. And so, like they said, to prepare, but to also, come dressed professionally, smile, good energy, firm handshake. Like she said, don't come in groups. But those little things really do make a difference, just with the energy in your voice and having that elevator pitch. And if you don't know what you want, that's okay. Instead of just focusing on what specific position, then really hone in on who you are. What are your top 3 attributes that you want to utilize in your next opportunity? And put that into your message. But if you do know what you want, like you said, like they said, be confident and really have an idea on how you're going to communicate that to the employers.
Yeah, if you see a company that really interests you, but it doesn't look like they have something that's in your field right now, this is one of the few opportunities that you're going to have to be able to go and talk directly to a representative there. We're a mid-sized company, 1,200 people, and looking at our marketing team, very rarely does a position open up there, and we get lots of applications. But if it's something that you contact the recruiter, already have that relationship built, they might reach out to you when those opportunities do come up. So if there are some real standout organizations, talk to them, get your name recognized.
Right. And I think Sarah has a great example on how she started with the company. She said she started in an entry level and worked her way up. And so that's the way you got to look at it, is how are you going to get your foot in the door with that organization? I started out as a receptionist too, and it's just great exposure to an entire organization. So think of it as stepping stones and really look at that big picture.
Sounds great.
Yes, I'd agree. If you want a job, and let's say we want to be the VP or the social worker, we know that that's not an entry-level job. So maybe one of your questions you could ask the employer is, how can I get into the company by working my way up? So what are other jobs that I could do or be a part of that will help me gain that foundational experience that will help me qualify for that next job, my dream job that I want to be? Such as a social worker at Dakota County. So you're going to have your degree and your license, and you're going to have some experience. So when you walk out of school, you will most likely not have that experience. But if you could come be a case specialist, or you could become a program associate, or a financial worker, they all deal with caseloads and learning systems, working with the professional social workers or child support officers. But by working with them, you're getting that experience in the systems and the processes so that you can be better qualified for when you do interview for that dream job. So.
This is fantastic. We can keep going. I heard some really, really important things here. I heard even if you know that the organization is not advertising for a role that's specific to your major or your interests, go up and get to know them anyway, because there probably is a whatever marketing function or whatever somewhere in that organization. And if you get to know that recruiter, maybe they could refer you to somebody. Maybe you could do an informational interview in a few months with the director of that department, especially if you're a junior, you're just a senior anytime. Get to know the individuals that are there, and just get to know them as an organization. One of the questions that was asked here, because everybody talked about the value of researching these organizations before you actually show up at the fair, a student is asking, what specifically should a student be researching? What should they specifically know about you when they walk up and talk to you? I mean, obviously they need to know what your business is, but beyond that, what depth of research are you looking and listening for in their research when they talk to you?
I think one area is just reviewing their career site and looking at some of their positions that are posted and looking at those job descriptions. And don't get discouraged if you see 2+ years or 5 years of experience. Look at those transferable skills, those attributes that they're looking for, and see how that can match up with what you have to offer. You know, we work with a healthcare company, and we fill a lot of mental health advocate positions. And in the job description, it does not explain that you need restaurant experience. However, it is explaining that you need to be able to problem solve, communicate with people, work in a fast-paced environment. And those skills are what you've gained at that restaurant that you can bring to the table when you're interacting with that employer. So that's just one example. So again, look at the job description and what they are looking for in a specific candidate.
Yeah, I guess I would look at the mission of the company. I would look at maybe some of the departments. If you happen to have know somebody that maybe works for the company, you could have an informational interview with them, ask them for coffee, or to go out for coffee, and think of the network. So it's your friend's mom's sister might actually work for the company, but that's okay. I think people really want to help students make those connections and help them find their pathways to companies. So, I mean, if you can find you're in that way, or just simply go to the job fairs and ask them what they're more about. I mean, you could just be really frank and just let them know too as well. We're all willing to share about our company too. So.
I really appreciated your advice about, when you're looking at so many organizations, maybe you can get together with a group of your friends and you can kind of split up the list and each one of you take a few companies to research and then share that. I thought that was a great idea. You also may want to literally split up, and so 3 of you are going to talk to those companies and 3 of you are going to go talk to 3 different companies, and you can get together at the end after you're done and share what you learned with each other after too, I thought of. The other thing that I heard all of you talk about is that whole elevator pitch and knowing what it is you want to say when you approach an employer at one of these fairs. And many of you were kind of specific, you know, your name, your major, maybe an experience or an interest area you've had. I heard somebody say something about professionalism and the tone of voice, I think you mentioned, as being important. Are there any things in particular beyond that that you will make a candidate stand out to you when they're talking to you and in their elevator pitch? And Ellie, I would have you answer this as well, because you talked to a number of employers, and I don't know if you approached employers in a specific way or what you made sure you wanted to convey when you introduced yourself, and any advice you have. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, especially use your body language to convey that you're definitely interested in that company. That's a big thing. As for a business card, it's one way to stand out, because then you can follow up afterwards. I always send, like 48 hours after, send a thank you note to them. That really shows that you really want the job and you're not just like, here's my resume, nice to meet you, thing like that. I often ask, like, what's your culture like? So I can actually get a feel if it even is a company that I would want to work for, if they have like the type of culture that I even want to. I mean, especially with your elevator speech, practice it, keep it to like 20 to 30 seconds and make sure that you get all the information that you want in there, and be very confident when you tell them like, oh, what your elevator speech is. I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah. If you went to the Job Fair Success Tactics, or if you look at your I'm Going to the Fair packet, there's kind of a worksheet actually in there that will help you structure and think about the elements of this elevator pitch.
I like what she said about asking about the culture. I think it's good to prepare at least 3 to 5 open-ended questions that you can ask the employer, and culture is one of them. You know, what makes a person successful at this organization? How did you get started in the organization? There's several questions you can ask, but the key is open-ended, just to get them talking.
Any other thoughts? Got it. Most of the questions that I'm getting from students are, you know, how can I stand out and what specific things are important to employers? So one of the questions that is here is GPA important to you? We always tell students that if your GPA is 3.0 or higher, to include that in the body of your resume in the education section. But you each represent different types of employers and industries, so if you might want to, again, remind us of your industry and, again, tell us your perspective about GPA. Thanks.
I would say that GPA to me is not as important per se. I think the resume, the things that you've done are so important. The volunteering, the internships, or the organizations that you've worked for that could be relevant to the position. And it's really important to include that somewhere in your resume or in your application. It shows some of those transferable skills, or that you're able to provide services or help to the greater good. Because at Dakota County, that's what we're doing. We're basically public servants. That's what we consider ourselves, for the greater good. And so we look for folks that are willing to offer those opportunities and volunteer in the community.
I would say too, it depends on the industry. So engineers, I saw a couple of you in here. It might be a little bit more important on the technical side, where they're looking for, you know, a 3.0 or a 3.5 and higher. I think some of our postings do say as a preferred requirement, wanting a GPA of 3.0 or more. I think, you know, the conversation that you have with recruiters is a little bit more important than the GPA, because you actually have more to stand out than just shoving your resume into an online database. So there's more conversational opportunities to talk about what you've done. So I wouldn't get discouraged, I guess, if your GPA isn't 3.0 or higher, because I think there's certainly opportunities out there. But as it was mentioned, if that's something that you are extremely proud of and you know that the companies that you're looking for value that, then certainly put that on there. But I think opportunities go beyond GPA.
Yeah, I think that GPA is just a line item when I'm considering someone's resume. It can be a signal that you're very driven and dedicated, but it could also be that you are you know, many other things. So it's only one thing that I look at. What I'm really interested in is you as an individual and what kind of skills and experience you can bring to our organization.
Yeah, and I work with hundreds of companies, and like they said, it just depends on the position, but for the most part, it's not that big of an impact depending on the position. Just last week, we helped a candidate. Basically, he was not working for the last year. He had a 3.5 GPA, but the reason why the employer didn't want to move forward with him is because he was not taking responsibility outside the classroom. So he had the GPA, but he did not have a part-time position. So we were able to help him get that part-time position to show that he is taking responsibility. He does have that work ethic coupled with the GPA. So work ethic trumps GPA.
I hear that a lot from a lot of employers. And it's in really competitive industries sometimes, and maybe some larger corporations that are maybe needing GPAs to help weed out the 500 applications they might have for something. But I think that's good news that they just shared, don't you think? I think that's great. Another question that has come up, and as we talked about, I think beforehand, was there are always questions about dress and what should a student wear? As you saw, we have a variety of age groups here, so there will be a big chunk of students looking for internship positions. There will be some seniors graduating looking for professional full-time jobs. But what advice would you have about what to wear to a career fair? And I also have a very specific question about women in terms of, do you have a preference of the hair up or the hair down? Does it look more professional one way or the other? So I'm asking all of those questions. Appearance.
I'd say business casual or business professional. If you don't own a suit and you don't need to go out and buy one specifically for the job fair, and it's about you as a whole package. So you do want to present yourself as a professional, but I'm not going to be hiring you to stand there. I really want to carry things through. So business casual or professional is what I typically see.
And Troy represents a nonprofit sector.
That's correct.
Go ahead. And there may be some differences of opinion here. Go ahead.
I would say, yeah, if you have a suit, wear it. If not, it's not a big deal. I would wear, black pants and a button-up shirt, or, just something dressy, like, I don't know, no jeans is a pretty common theme, I guess. But just whatever, I don't know, I feel like you know what you would wear to stand out in a bad way, so just don't do that. So yeah, as dressy as you can be. I don't think you'd show up overdressed by any means, because there's going to be people in, the full-on suit and tie. So just as dressy as you have, and as dressy as you feel comfortable, because you don't want it to feel awkward either. And then as far as hair, I don't have a preference. I don't know if many people do. It could be that they do and I just don't know about it, but I think whatever you're comfortable with, and as long as it's not, hanging in your face or anything like that or causing a distraction, but whatever you're comfortable with.
Ellie, what did you wear?
Last year I wore dress and tights and flats. Especially for girls, make sure you wear comfy shoes because you're walking around a lot and you're on your feet. As for the hair, I wear mine half up, half down because I tend to play with my bangs, and it's really distracting when I'm talking to someone. As for men, I saw most all of the guys there wearing suits, and I guess try to stick to like a conservative color like navy or gray or black, just because other colors are very, bright, but I guess if you wanted to stand out, you could. Keep your accessories to a minimum, I guess. I'm not doing a great job right now of that, but stuff like that. And if you wear tights, maybe keep them in a neutral color, like nude, I guess. And bring a briefcase or a portfolio to carry your resumes in. It shows that you're prepared.
That's great. What are you going to wear this year as a senior graduating? I assume you're going. Are you going?
Yeah, I am going.
Yeah, what are you going to wear?
I think I'm going to wear a skirt suit. Yeah.
Change a little bit.
I think.
Sure. Any last thoughts? Okay.
I think they said it all.
That's
Yeah.
good. We got a last-minute question about, do you have any strong feelings about men with beards or facial hair?
No.
Yeah. As long as it's trimmed and well kept, that's fine.
So they don't look like Santa Claus, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Are there any turn-offs? So students are making a poor impression on you, and what have they said or done, or what do they look like if they're making a bad impression on you?
Well, I hate to bring this up, but I will, just because we experience this at least once a week, and this is for, the young ladies. Just, try to dress conservative, and she gave you some great advice, and I think comfortable shoes is key, but, we've seen young ladies in really high heels or short skirts or low blouses. So just keep that in mind, that you want to be able to dress as conservative.
Right.
as well,
Yeah, I think my line is, don't show a lot of skin at the top or the bottom.
Yep, yep.
But the beards and the facial hair are okay, as long
Right.
as it's neat and trimmed. And anyway, again, so potentially you could turn somebody off, is what you're saying, with your
Yes.
appearance.
Right. Right.
But, and I agree, the high heels, you just won't survive, ladies. If you've never been to the convention center floor, it's a huge place, and I've seen women actually hobbling after the first hour, so just do yourself a favor and be comfortable. Any other turnoffs or negatives that you can think of that students should be aware of?
I think just having a nice portfolio with your resumes inside so they're easy to grab. You can tuck business cards in there very easily as well. Have a notebook on top so that you can have maybe your open-ended questions on there and could easily scribe down, some responses either while you're talking with them or immediately when you walk away. And put the phones away. They're not necessary that day, just like they're not necessary to interview. Just put them away. Maybe don't even bring them, because I think it's just one more thing for you to try to hold on to while you're sitting and trying to shake a hand or write down notes. So keep it simple.
Great, good advice. Another very pragmatic question that I have gotten here is, now this particular job fair on February 22nd, the floor is open from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. So it's a 6-hour period. I doubt that I know a lot of students that are literally going to be there for all 6 hours straight. So the common question is there a best time of day to attend this fair? From your perspective as an employer, when you want to talk to people, you got early morning, lunch, afternoon, and Ellie, your thoughts from your last year too. So whoever wants to answer that first.
I'll start. It kind of depends on who you want to talk to. If you're really interested in getting to a big company like Target, I would try to get there very early because they will have a line throughout the rest of the day. Also, getting there early gives you time to talk to the employers before they're all burnt out on questions and talking the whole day. But also, some people say that if you talk to them last, you have a better impression, but I don't think that's true.
What do you?
I'd agree with arriving earlier. There are also sometimes employers that leave before the scheduled end time, and so you have a larger audience that is present. We will be there for the entire fair. And then just to, wait through the line, or if there is a long line that forms at a smaller employer, sometimes that will ebb and flow, so you can come back later, but Target is always busy.
And I also think it sets a good impression when you show up early, because when you do start your, first job out of college, typically the hours are from, 8 to 5. And if you arrive early before the crowd, you have more opportunity to talk to employers, but it just shows that you are eager and, ready to get started.
But I have noticed that the lines are shorter right after lunch. So if waiting in line is not your fun thing to do, things move along a little faster in the early afternoon. What I always wondered, actually, can I get my own question in here? So right after lunch, is it energizing after you eat, or are you kind of fading and tired after lunch?
I think we appreciate people visiting and talking, because that kind of, you get that afternoon slump, and we all do after we eat. And so come in with some good energy, and I think we all enjoy having that conversation, kind of keep us going.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. The lunchtime is really hard because usually 2 or 3 people at a table, and you're taking turns kind of having the lunch hour, so you might have less people at the table, so you might have to wait longer during the lunch hour if there's fewer people at the table to talk to you from the company.
We split it up too because if we have the same person there all day talking, then we know that they struggle towards the end of the day. So we break it into 2 different shifts.
I think a lot of organizations do that. I don't know, do you do that at Excel Energy? Do you have different people coming and going throughout the day?
Yeah, this year we will be, and I think that brings a good point with the timing too. So sometimes they, like for us example, 2 of us are going to be attending in the morning session, and then some of our accounting and finance groups will be coming later. And so I think it's good to at least check in with one early, and they might be able to share with you like, oh, we aren't an expert in that area, but our colleagues will be here in a couple hours and you should stop back. So that also gives you a benefit to know who's going to be manning the booth when.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I thank you for bringing up, Dana, the fact that you may or may not realize, but again, larger organizations or organizations that have a lot of experience at this fair year after year, they know that the afternoon can get tiring. So don't worry, they'll swap out the representatives. So it might be a fresh team coming in the afternoon for many of these organizations. And for the larger organizations, I've seen as many as 5 to 8 staff members staffing their booths to try to, again, one person isn't just stuck doing the whole thing. It can be exhausting. Thanks. Thank you. A lot of you had talked about, when you were talking about how GPA may not be the be-all, end-all, and you specifically referenced, I'm really looking at your experience, you know, your job experience, maybe your leadership or your activities during college, the skills that you bring, so be able to name the skills that you bring. And in that way, there are some sophomores here in the room, and I think that sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm maybe not going to be taken as seriously as a junior applying for an internship. So is there anything that you'd like to tell a sophomore in the room in particular?
Well, I think a lot of the same advice applies if they're looking for an internship, and just look at your summer experience that you've had. Even in high school, did you work at a restaurant, or were you a lifeguard, or whatever it may be, but you probably developed good customer service skills, problem-solving skills, just work ethic that you can market at the job fair to, look at those internships. So I think, really just, again, focus on who you are, what you've already gained through whatever experience you've had, and put that into your message, and of course, along with the interests that you have as well.
If there's something that you're really interested in or really passionate about, go for it. Don't select yourself out. You've got to be the one to believe in yourself first and foremost, and sell yourself on your experiences.
And I think too, it could work to your benefit also, because some companies see a sophomore and think, it'd be great to have you come in now, learn this position. Hopefully we could bring you on and put you in a different department next summer. So it's also a potential to stick around for quite a while and groom you in the right area if ideally you'd like to be with us full time. But yeah, we understand with campus recruiting, you understand that people aren't going to come with a whole lot of experience. So yeah, it's looking at what volunteer activities have you done? Did you serve on, a campus board of some sort? What did you do in high school? And how did those things kind of contribute to where you're at today?
I'd agree with that. And one thing I think is, think of those action words, or the words the things that you did. So did you coordinate? Did you manage? Did you lead others? And those are some of the things in helping sell yourself, is looking at those skills or those things that you did, whether it's volunteering or a part-time job, because those are the words that people want to hear or even see on a resume, because if they only have 30 seconds to look at your resume, they want to look at like the things that you truly did. I managed this, I led this. I think those are important. Those are things that make you want to read a little bit more or go further into the resume when you see those words.
Yeah. And we call those transferable
Yes,
skills.
transferable.
And so when we have job analysis with companies, that's where we spend most of our time. What transferable skills are you looking for this specific position? And so her advice is very, very helpful in that regard. And so any experience that you had is marketable. Just be
Absolutely.
confident in that.
Ellie, did you have anything you wanted to add from your perspective?
No, I mean, maybe. Um, when I went in, I only had one like part-time internship under on my resume, but I had a lot of like part-time jobs and also jobs at school. And I really just like thought, well, like what did I learn at these jobs and what skills did I gain from those jobs, and use those as my experience instead of just saying like, oh, well, I've had this internship and this internship and this job.
Excellent. That's great. That's great. One of my last questions is again something a little bit more pragmatic and technical. I'll ask each of you, the employers, to talk about, do you have specific positions that you are definitely hiring for, that you're talking to people about at the fair? Are you collecting resumes? Are you telling people to go to your website? Are you looking to hire a specific number of people as a result of attending this fair? Do you kind of get the gist of what I'm asking? Great. So,
Sure. So right now at Grad Staff, we are averaging about 20 plus positions at a time. So it's a wide variety. Right now we are working with healthcare companies, so advocate positions. That's where you're providing resources to patients, but not necessarily giving the direct care. Software company right now, we have several positions with 2 software companies in their analyst, IT, software developer, customer service, sales, and then also just working with some administrative office type positions as well. So a wide variety.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a few positions that we're really actively looking for right now. One of them is for working in our autism clinic and mental health clinic, a trainee role where staff can work under the supervision of a mental health professional. So that's typically someone that's studying behavioral sciences or recently graduated. We have teacher and assistant teacher programs within our Fraser School program. That's something that someone with either an education background or even a liberal arts background can get into if they want to try that field out. And then we also have direct care positions working in our homes. We don't have a specific target of individuals that we'd like to hire from the job fair, but it's really about making those connections and being able to find people. We'll accept resumes at the job fair. However, we do require that people apply online to be officially considered for a position. What it looks like kind of behind the scenes after we get back from the fair and I have your resume, if I'm not the person that's recruiting for the position that you had expressed interest in or would be a good fit with your level of experience, I'll route your resume to my coworker, and then they'll reach out to you if there would be a fit or if they'd like to talk to you a little bit more or set up an informational interview about that opportunity.
So we have a few positions that we'll be primarily discussing, and that's pretty much just the positions that are posted online. So I know we have a supply chain internship, communications, a few engineering positions. So the best piece of advice, I guess, would be to search out which opportunities are currently posted. We don't have a specific targeted number of individuals that we plan to hire from the fair. It's just having those conversations to determine if we meet somebody who's a great fit for that role. We would be gearing students to apply online, which I know sounds impersonal, but at least we did have an opportunity to talk with you. I think a good important piece after the fair is to connect on LinkedIn. So like I said, with my role as being a sourcer, even interacting with passive candidates in the future. So maybe it's not right now that we have something open for you, but in 3 to 4 months, let's connect again and see if there are any changes. Resumes, we actually cannot accept resumes. So we would be happy to kind of walk through them with you and see what your experience looks like. But then that main review of your resume would happen through the online application process. Did that hit everything
sounds, yep.
pretty much? All right.
Sorry. We have all of our jobs listed online. I know that we will be recruiting for engineering intern positions with construction, survey, and water resources. So we'll be working with that. Financial workers, all we require is a 4-year degree. So if you're graduating, it'd be something to consider. More case specialists. Those are some of those entry-level positions that I had mentioned to you, kind of to get into those human services related fields. We do just kind of collect the resumes just as more of a conversation piece, but we don't necessarily apply them to the position, as we direct people to our website to apply there. That way you can give us a more thorough, overview of your background and your interests. We do have a listserv, so you can get on our listserv, and we send you out a weekly listing of all the jobs at Dakota County. So if today you're not looking, but you're looking for the future, maybe you graduate in June, you already have a summer internship, but are looking for the fall, you certainly could look at our listserv and start the application process, maybe to look for a position in the future.
Thanks. The last question is kind of a twofer. You mentioned LinkedIn. That's amazing. So one of the common questions I hear from students is, so if I really met an organization that I got excited about and they directed me to apply online, and everybody feels like those online applications kind of go into a black hole and they may never hear anything about their application, what advice would you have to give to students about how to follow up with the people that they've met at the fair, and then mix that in with your one last best tip or piece of advice? So the follow-up and one last best piece of advice. Thanks. And we'll go up and down. Why don't we start where we ended? Go right ahead, if that's okay. Have to put you on the spot.
So I guess I would say one of my best pieces of advice is, when you talk to the employer, ask them how to find out about future opportunities. Some would prefer that you connect with them on LinkedIn. Some would prefer that you do a listserv and just kind of passively watch for positions that way. And so ask them how to reach you or how to follow up. I personally would prefer an email, because I can be on a phone call and responding to an email quickly, letting you know we're at a job fair this weekend or later this week, or kind of shoot them off real quickly in response, versus trying to connect with someone on the phone. So it's just easier just to shoot out an email or connect on LinkedIn, that as well. I think just understanding the preference. And maybe my last piece too is, I mentioned it before, is just find those job shadows, find those people, buy them a cup of coffee, and just ask them about the careers to help you figure out, make sure it's the right direction for you or the company that you're seeking. So.
Great, thank you.
As far as follow-up, I guess I'm partial to LinkedIn because I'm just on it quite often throughout the day. And it's a good reminder. So if you just shoot an email, sometimes it may not be as memorable of who you are without, your photo and a brief summary of your background. So it's a good trigger of like, oh yeah, I met that person at the private college career fair, and this is who they are, and this is why they're following up with me. So I think LinkedIn is good in that way to follow up. I think you mentioned it too, asking the employer what is the preferred way. So some employers may actually not prefer to be followed up with because there's just hundreds of people that they're speaking with and everything. So I think asking what the preference is, ideally sending a quick thank you is really great to stand out as well. But yeah, seeing what the best way is with that particular employer. I'm sure it varies from small employers to really large corporations. A last piece of advice, I think there's been a lot of good stuff shared, but I think too, thinking about yourself and knowing when to move on from a company. So don't feel like you're obligated to have a long conversation if it just doesn't seem like the right fit. No one's going to be offended if you determine it's just not really what you're looking for. So it's obviously all about you and when you can find the right position for yourself. So know if that's going to happen with the employer you're speaking with, or if your time would be best spent talking to somebody else.
For follow-up, I shared before that I usually send a thank you letter and ask for their business card, but also connecting on LinkedIn is a great way. And as for my best tip, this may sound a little weird, but it's okay to eavesdrop on the student that they're talking to before you, to like see what they're asking them so you're more prepared to answer their questions. And also make every recruiter feel like they're your top choice. shows a lot.
For follow-up, I would say, yeah, LinkedIn or an email is really good. When you're connecting with someone on LinkedIn, you should personalize the message versus it being like, hi, I'd like to add you to my network. That way it shows that you're putting that extra effort in. And this kind of follow-up can even be for when you're applying for a position that you're interested in. Some companies will say the recruiter that's associated with the position, and if you hunt them down and say, this is something that I've applied for this position and I'd love to have the chance to talk with you a little bit about it, it can show that level of excitement and show the recruiter that you are their top choice. I think that a lot of people focus so much on their resumes because they feel like it's the only thing that they have control over in the job application process. And just going out there and doing a little bit of detective work and getting in contact with someone can really be what makes you stand out when there are dozens or hundreds of resumes that have been submitted to a role. And then my best tip for job fair success is narrow down the list of who you want to see and really focus your time and effort on those organizations. It's not hundreds of companies, it's the few that you really want to make an impression with. The people that come in and know our company's mission and know our company's programs and where they'd like to be are the ones that really stand out to me and that I really remember afterwards and tell my coworkers, like, we should really keep an eye open for their application.
So I agree with all of them. As far as follow-up, I think what we've really been impressed with is when not only do we get an email, but we also get a handwritten thank you a few days later. I think it's completely acceptable to do both, especially for the ones that you're really interested in. It just really sets yourself apart. And then most definitely LinkedIn. I mean, that's the recruiter's number one module today, so making sure you have a complete profile and connecting with us on LinkedIn as well. And biggest tip, that's so hard. It really is hard. And I feel for you because I was in your shoes a long time ago, but I think, just making sure you take the time to prepare and practice, practice your pitch, practice what you're going to say before you go to the fair. Think of it as an audition, or if you're going to try out for a team, you have to practice. And whether that's in the mirror or in front of a friend or a parent, just make sure you invest in that time before you go to the fair, and smile and enjoy the process.
Exactly. I've been working this private college fair, I shouldn't tell you how many decades, but all of the things that you just heard here today are the things that I have personally witnessed over the years. So thank you for telling them everything that we try to coach them on. And I would say bring your positive energy and enthusiasm and excitement. It can get daunting and overwhelming, but as Ellie said, you are talking to each employer, and it's just the two of you, so make an impression and be positive. I just want to thank Dana Sokol from Grad Staff. I want to thank Troy Sabian from Fraser. I want to thank Ellie Rowland, our senior from our marketing department, our Christine Lang from Xcel Energy, and finally Sarah Knoll from Dakota County. Thank you. And lastly, two things. First of all, if you have not registered for the private college's job and internship fair, the deadline is tomorrow by 4 p.m. Do it in the Career Development Center at MHC 123. There is a required orientation, so if you've not done that, there is a live orientation session at noon tomorrow in room 124, Murray Herrick, and if the room is full, there's always Blackboard. Thank you all for coming. This will be videotaped and on our website. Thank you again. Thanks.